Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Friday Spy Curious with Casey Pine.
Hello, everybody.
And Mike Evans. Bad news today, people. Pat Flynn went into hospital earlier this week with his infected foot. Those of you that have been in his class can remember over the last few years, Pat in his moon boot, never complaining. This afternoon, he fell over in the shower and broke the ankle on his other foot. We'll be back in 30 seconds to tell you all about it while Casey gets over the shock. I hope. Hi everyone, Mike Evans and Casey Pine with another episode, 137 of Friday Afternoon Spy Curious. For those of you that missed it in the introduction, the Australian Security Academy's training manager, Mr. Patrick Flynn, the most committed, most popular, most giving person in investigations training in Australia, earlier this week went in to have an infection fixed on his foot, which has been an ongoing problem for a couple of years, but now that's been fixed. This afternoon in the shower, he fell over and broke the ankle on his other foot. So wheelchair-bound Pat will be back with us next week. G'day, how you going? And he's in good spirits. He's laughing about what he did. He's in really good spirits, but boy, is he in some pain. And both him and Casey are in shock. So, Pat, mate, we hope you are feeling better very soon. And, oh, dear, what an awful thing to happen. Not untypical that we're investigators and we do see that happening. We have got so much to get through today. I don't know where to start. But we'll start with some of the more interesting stuff that's happened this week. Here we go. So, around in Private Investigator Australia, our Facebook group with 1,200 lively members who don't get in there and hate each other, which is really good fun, an investigator has put up about the high fuel charges at the moment and what rates they get paid for travel. So that's really interesting. So they put that up in a Facebook group. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. Not a problem. And it creates a little bit of interest. It creates a little bit of knowledge about what's going on. Now, here's my advice to people who are licensed investigators and they're concerned about sudden bumps in fuel prices or potentially months worth of high fuel prices and that sort of thing, because individually there's nothing you can do. But there is something you can do as a group of investigators. There's two things you can do. One's as a group. The second one is basically as an individual. So let's have a look at the first one. So the first one, the course of action you can do about that is join an industry association and participate in it. Now, if you're an Australian Security Academy graduate, you're a member of... Thanks, Renee. Yes, we hope you're better soon, Pat. It's awful news. We do hope Pat has a speedy recovery. Thank you. I'll pass all these on personally. So join an industry association and participate in it. If you have an industry association like AIRLAP, where you are instantly a free member because you're an Australian Security Academy student, right, then get in there and participate. Join the meetings, contribute to it. And then if you have an issue like high fuel prices and what can be done about it, we'll step in for you as a group, a united group, because you're a member of an industry association. You have a voice. As an individual, you're just another person complaining on Facebook. So get into the industry association, join it, and participate in it. That's the number one positive course, solution-focused piece of action that you can do. Now, the second one is you can get yourself a Tesla. So I told you in a video earlier this year that in another 3 years, everybody's going to be driving these electric vehicles, and it might not be Teslas, but they might be other ones. So there's one we prepared earlier. It's charging, and it's charging up on 45 solar panels. It's completely free to run, okay? And it doesn't have an engine, so it's very light on maintenance. So get one of those or any kind of electric vehicle and you won't be paying high fuel prices. So when the electric vehicle's combined with your solar power, it's free to charge all day, every day. So that's something to think about. Good idea, Casey?
Fantastic. That's a lot of solar panels. That's great.
Certainly keeps it charged. So a couple of things have been happening on the Gold Coast this week in investigations. So these two people who are slumming it at Sovereign Island, which is next door to where I live, really tough. They're doing it, as you can see, the house on the left with the brown roof and the white house on the right. They've been living next to each other for some 20 years and they've basically been at war with each other. Sovereign Island is where Peter Foster, the crook, lives, and it's also where Clyde Palmer, the potential politician and billionaire, lives. So Peter Foster lives around them. And what they've been doing is they've been having an argument that started over the fence. They've ended up in court this week about the gentleman basically ramming a rubbish bin into the lady. Let's have a look at what they did. It's coming. No, this one. So here's the lady. She's standing out the front of her slummy house in Sovereign Island. And here's the gentleman who doesn't like where she put her rubbish bins. So he goes and pushes it into her and gives it a good shove. And she shoves back. Then he goes and gets the next one.
Oh, she's moving.
It over. This has been going on for 20 years. It's in relation to a fence line that was in the wrong place. The fence cost $17,000. And they probably both spent in excess of $40,000 arguing as neighbours for the last 20 years, 20 years in relation to it, in and out of court. So here comes a good Samaritan and he's going over there and he's going, look, what's going on? Come on, grow up, you two. Never do this, right? On the Gold Coast, you go and interfere in something like that, you get knifed and killed. Stay out of it. If it's a child being molested or belted or bashed, yes, get in there and do your thing, but otherwise let them go. So here they are, they're arguing, and there's argy-bargy, and there's fingers being pointed, and courtesy of the neighbours' CCTV, you can see what they've been going on about. Now, in all of that, the arguing's been going on, the litigation has been going to QCAT, they've been fighting and getting lawyers involved, and the man that went up and spoke to them, here he comes. His name is Mr. Anderson Bell, and he was aware that they'd been fighting before, and he was also aware that they'd been to QCAT, and the lady, Pam, was described as a vexatious litigant. Okay, vexatious litigant, it's in the news. We're Spy Curious, we're all about investigation news. So what is a vexatious litigant? If you Google it, you'll have hours of stuff to watch and see. And here's just some of the people that have been vexatious. Clive Palmer's there. There's others. It's whole half of Sovereign Island. There's the Knight guy that went, Julian Knight, the man that went mad and killed all those people in Melbourne in Hoddle Street, the Hoddle Street massacre person. He's a vexatious litigant. He's become a lawyer and he's a narcissist. Well, he's always been that, but he's become a lawyer while he's in jail, and he sues everybody for anything and everything. And now I think they've made him a vexatious litigant in Victoria. Well, he's in jail. He's got nothing else to do. So here's another page full of people that have been doing that, and that's in the news. So you can look up vexatious litigants and what they do. One they're described as unhinged. And they get themselves, Andrew Garrett, the wine person, he's been described as a vexatious litigant. He's hit the news a couple of times. So courts, really tire, and magistrates really tired of people who just go around starting trouble. You can look it up. So it's someone who just sues other people to cause trouble and drama and cost. And in Queensland, here they are. You can look up the Queensland list of vexatious litigants. Now, no court will accept any matter that they bring to court. They won't see it because they've just been doing it so often over the years. They've all been allocated a date from when it won't happen and a file number that they will check before they proceed with any matters from them. So those vexatious litigants are checked by the state government and prevented from wasting resources and wasting time in the court just to cause trouble constantly for other people, including neighbours that they've lived next to and pushed rubbish bins into over the last 20 years. Now, that one, it all started over a fence that was on someone else's property. That's all it was. It was a $17,000 fence. Not much of a fence in Sovereign Islands, probably about 2 metres long. So, so that's what's happened there, and it hit the news this week. The other one that hit the news this week that's really important that you have a understanding of is Callum. Here he comes. So Mongol Joshua Small, I think Mongols are bikies or something, has had charges against him dropped after his accuser, Callum Keppen, refuses to speak.
Oh dear.
Yes, so what's happened is Callum has made a complaint and made a statement to police, and basically it's gone to court and they've said, okay, Callum, what happened? And Callum's going, I've forgotten. Why have you forgotten, Callum? Because someone rang up and threatened my mother. Okay, so Callum's got a sudden case of amnesia in court, and the police have gone and invested time and effort. Happy Friday to you too. The police have gone and invested time and effort into Callum's case. Now, when a person changes their story in the witness box in court and they're sworn in and under oath, that is what is called a hostile witness. Now, a lot of people say to me, a hostile witness is one that starts yelling and carrying on in the witness box. Okay, that happens, and the judges are straight onto it. They don't muck around. They don't tolerate that. That's not a hostile witness. A hostile witness is a person that changes their mind. So Callum's gone from a 4-page statement of how he's bashed by outlaw motorcycle gang to complete amnesia about the matter, and he's not saying it. So he has been termed a hostile witness when he was in court. To get to hostile witness stage, someone's got to say, Your Honour, I'd like to have a voir dire. You'll see it on this page. It's VOIRDIRE, a voir dire. That's where they clear the court. The magistrate, the two barristers, and the person in the witness box, they stay in the court. And the accused stays in the court. That's all that stays. And they go to the magistrate and they say, well, we want this case thrown out because he's changed his mind. But it's such a big deal to the state government and the police. They say, no, we want to proceed this. We want him marked as hostile so we can now cross-examine him, who is there to help us. We're cross-examining the other side. So this is argued in the voir dire. And it's really interesting. I've taken part in 4 voir dires, and it's always, with me, it's always been over the notes I made at the time and an argument over whether I made them at the time and they were contemporaneous. So that's when you'll strike a voir dire as a private investigator. So it's come up this week because of Callum's amnesia in relation to it. So if you want the full document that you're looking at there, you want the full document, just like this video and let me know, Mike, can you send me the hostile witness PDF? And I'll send it to you, okay? Even if you write it in the comments, I'll have a PDF of hostile witnesses, please, okay? Or you could Google it yourself and look it up, but I'll send it to you if you want it. Why go to the trouble? Craig Thompson's got himself in trouble again over COVID-19 fraud. This has been happening. You're going to see a lot of this. There's a real estate agent company that was doing it in New South Wales yesterday. There's several people involved in it, and 19 people had COVID-19 payments that they were unaware of sent into the bank account of the real estate companies. Nice little scam, that one. So that happened this week. this is coming up quite regularly. Down in Victoria, this man was arrested because he kidnaps people and tries to get money for debts off them. In Victoria, there is no rules about debt collection. Absolutely none. You can be in H division of the prison, and if you've got a telephone smuggled in, you can be a debt collector. You don't have to have a license. All you have to do is go and kidnap people and torture them until they pay. And that's what this guy did. Now the police got onto it and they've gone and arrested him. He's a self-styled debt collector, prepared to go to any lengths. Excuse me, we have protections against that. As I've been saying, and you've heard me say it back a few episodes in this, the Australian Taxation Office after the next election, if you haven't paid your tax, you've got behind in it, you haven't made an arrangement with it and you're not paying it, they're going to put you into a collection service and destroy your credit rating. So if you're behind in it for any reason as a business person, make an arrangement and stick to it. All right, because you do not want your credit rating wrecked over tax through a debt collection service. It's a matter of keeping in contact, keeping them informed what you can pay, making regular payments, and they can't wreck your credit rating. Now, this is unprecedented in Australia. They've never been able to do that before, but because of the economic pressures of COVID-19, that's the way it's going to be. So I recommend everybody, if you're $1,000 behind, make an arrangement. If you're $70,000 behind, make an arrangement, keep them informed and stick to it. They will accept a reasonable offer, and your accountant can do it if you shake too much to be able to contact the ATO. Sorry. ProCare, we're at a convention this week and they put that up on their Facebook page, and I'll just have a look at some quick jobs so we can see what's happening out on the jobs front before Casey comes in with what's been happening. So, all right, so this is a fisheries job down in Tassie. It's a government position, not a high-paying one, but you're only working 60 hours a fortnight. So that's a great job down there in Tasmania. Senior compliance officer there for Transport Victoria. A lot of our students come from Transport Victoria, so a great role down there. It's a really great stepping stone into other areas in government in Victoria, and all about it is on our Facebook page. You can see this job with, I'm not fast enough to keep up with it, an investigation advisor. That's a real beauty. You'll need a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services for that one, or you might have qualifications in other areas like general insurance or something like that. The senior investigator, oh, here we go. This is the qualification that you'll need, a Certificate 3 in Investigative Services from the Australian Security Academy. So that's what you want. As you can see, there's jobs, page after page of jobs. There's an investigator there at ICAC in New South Wales. So you'd need a Certificate 4 in Government Investigations for that one. There's a Security Investigation Analyst for Crown Melbourne. They're very important. They stick to their anti-money laundering. Crown in Perth have got themselves into real trouble for not complying with that. So there's a Senior Analyst and Senior Investigator position there. All around the country, multiple roles. There's lots of those. So there are jobs everywhere, people. Where do you find those jobs? You go to this Facebook page. We curate these jobs so you can see them. I hope you go to this Facebook page. I've got to turn the video off. I hold Pat Flynn completely responsible for this, for ringing me up 5 minutes before 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon and telling me he just broke his ankle. Oh, mate. Oh, I hope you get better soon, Pat. That is so awful. He's in a lot of pain. He's on every medication for it, but he can still feel it. He's only just done it. His foot's swollen up to half the size of a football. This is our Australian Private Investigator, Corporate and Government Investigator Facebook page, where you'll see all the jobs I've just shown you. There are a whole lot of other jobs there too. So Kerrigan's have got some, matter of fact, we've got some jobs there in Melbourne for 2 circumstance investigators licence. This one's for factual investigators through ProCare in Hobart, private investigators licence, Brookside in Sydney. Racing New South Wales are chasing a certificate for and government investigator. G. Hughes and Associates want Brisbane licensed factual investigator. SureFact, if you've got a license, they want to talk to you at SureFact. The Massel Group, who feature on our Facebook page, the two people in charge at Massel on this Facebook page. There's two people there who are much better looking than the other two people, and one's on the extreme left and one's in the middle of the two guys in ties. They work for Massel, and they want a private investigator in Melbourne. So lots of job opportunities all around the country. This week, we've been featuring CTP Liability in our Facebook pages and our sort of like supportive learning. We had some evidence sources every day for 5 days. So Monday, we talked about registration plate impact prints. So when two cars collide, one will leave the imprint of itself in the other car. It'll be in there mirrored. Now, they have this down at assessment centres. They have the lights where it shows up and they can see that and they can read the whole thing or they can read half of it. Now, big issues arise if there's 5 or 6 imprints because it means that they've rammed it 6 times. Why have they done that? To say that they've got whiplash from the impact of the accident. So that's one source. We did that on Monday. On Tuesday, we talked about mobile phone records. Now, this is really important. What Casey's going to be talking about in a minute, I reckon if they check the mobile phone records, one of the issues is going to be there was a discussion going on somewhere at the time of that accident. Someone had a coffee in one hand and a mobile phone in the other, and they were in the driver's seat. So that's just me being suspicious because I'm naturally suspicious as an investigator. We had a third one, dash cams on Wednesday where people fake accidents, like our man in the middle in the red shorts who's fallen over. The guy on the right-hand side, he just laid the bike down on top of himself. They're all caught on CCTV or dash cams, so that was interesting. This is what happens. TAC in Victoria source this kind of stuff all the time. CCTV, that one. Dash cams was the one we had on Thursday. And today's was what happened at the scene. So moving on from that, Casey's going to go through what she's been looking at about the issues around this accident. Now, this lady in Melbourne was driving through outer Melbourne on a busy road in a Tesla, which she says was on autopilot. So she's not driving it manually. So it's self-driving. Now, it costs $7,000 and you can download it when you buy your Tesla. And I think you get 12 months free autopilot with it to test it out in your first 12 months. Now, she's either bought it or she's got it for free. Somewhere along the way, she would have had an induction on how to operate it. But she reckons that she was driving along and the car was driving along and it hit this lady who was trying to get on a tram. Now, there are special rules in Melbourne about access and egress from trams, and pedestrians have right of way. Now, artificial intelligence doesn't understand that. So in this case, that vehicle on the left-hand side underneath the Australian Security Academy logo has impacted with the lady getting on the tram on the passenger side underneath the light there. And the lady's gone up and hit the windscreen where it's smashed and probably gone over the top. She's had an awful tragic accident. She's very lucky to be alive. And if she makes it, she's going to be even luckier. Right, so she's had a high impact hit. A light lady who wouldn't weigh 60 kilograms has been hit by that vehicle travelling along. We don't know what speed. Can we find out? Let's see what Casey's found out for us today.
Well, this was something that I thought I'd put together a little video for because I have a couple of notes I would like to read from. So this is something that I'm particularly interested in because I love technology. I love new and emerging fields when it comes to technology, such as electric cars or cryptocurrency. I love all of that stuff. And when it comes to investigations, it's not just your ordinary investigation. When it's a hit and run with a Tesla, it's not a Camry. It's like your PC getting up and doing a hit and run. So I'll have a look at my video so I can explain it further. If I can get it to work. Here we go. Yes. Okay. So When investigations like this occur, it's really important to do your research on the technology, what regulators in Australia are involved with it, and the laws surrounding the technology. With all new technologies, there's a gap between what people know and what people assume. And this isn't just lay people, this is regulators as well who assume things. So people are often caught up in their emotions when dealing with investigations specifically like this. Some really want to defend the technology and some want to preserve human life at all cost. And your research into this, if you just do a bit of research before you go out and investigate this, it'll help give you a deeper understanding into both perspectives, which will help neutralize your emotions and allow you to ask the right questions. So, as I said before, it's not a Camry, it's a Tesla, and it's no ordinary car. Tesla cars are computers on wheels, and just like your phone, it's consistently collecting data and sending it back to Tesla. And as Tesla is like a computer, if the woman says that the autopilot was on, there will be a long log showing whether autopilot was on or not. Or if the autopilot failed, there would be an error message. So with a Tesla, they have 8 external facing cameras, a radar, 12 ultrasonic sensors, a GPS, and an IMU, which is a device that measures the 3 linear acceleration components and 3 rotational rate components of a vehicle. So I'll just remove that now. So the police should be able to obtain these logs from Tesla. All you have to do is give Tesla a call and say, hey, this is the Tesla, this is the VIN number, can we please have the logs? And I didn't have time. I sat on hold for a while as to who I could speak to. I don't know if an investigator can obtain this information or whether an insurance company can obtain this information, but obviously the police would be able to get this information. So the National Transport Commission also said that the responsibility for investigating crashes involving self-driving cars falls directly on whatever state or territory that it happens in. So, which is great news at the moment, unless it's a systemic issue. So when this hit and run happens and you're sent out to investigate it, ask where the logs are. Where are the logs for what happened? Was the autopilot working? Was there an error? If Michael said that she might have been on the phone, it will show in the log that she was talking using the hands-free phone if her phone is connected to the car, which in a Tesla it most likely is. So all of that information is laid out step by step. They'll have the GPS coordinates of where there was an impact. They will have camera footage. There is so much information that you will be able to get when it comes to any automated car. So this poor girl, if she's lying, then there will be a lot of information to discredit her or a lot of information to back up her story.
Very good. And as Renee said, g'day Renee, very good information, Casey. So let's just have a little bit more of a look at it. Okay, people. So this I found very interesting. She said it was on autopilot, that she returned to the accident. She initially drove off, returned 3 hours later, and her story was on autopilot. So what we just found out is that can be checked. This is a really interesting statistic. This one I found has got nothing to do with Teslas or the lady in particular. But they're saying that every 25 seconds of every day, globally, someone is killed fatally in a motor vehicle accident. So that's how many fatals there are. Every 25 seconds there's a fatal. So just imagine how many injuries there would be. That's pretty amazing. The other thing that I found out in relation to my research, some injuries will happen if the vehicle is automated driving mode and is the major responsible party for the crash. Now, that's what her story is. She's saying it was in auto mode, right? Now, the highway is generally suspected as being the place where it's the most dangerous because of speed. But I have driven one of these in auto mode on a highway and I found it to be very safe. I wouldn't dare drive it in the suburbs with roundabouts, trams, pedestrian crossings and things like that because it can't read those. So what they're saying is with this sort of accident, it's dependent on the driving mode, automatic, or the driver in charge, the location, and whether the crashes are associated to yielding for pedestrians or cyclists. So in this case, it's the Victorian requirement to yield to people alighting or egressing a tram has come into it. If it was on auto mode, I would be interviewing the salesperson from where that vehicle was purchased to say, what induction did you give the driver beforehand and what instructions did you tell them about driving in auto mode?
Yeah. Which is huge for
Yeah.
every single car, even cars with the auto, I've forgotten what it's called, when you put your adaptive cruise control. So you get an hour minimum induction, whether you want it or not, from all car yards when you buy a car that has the adaptive cruise control. So this isn't just when you get a car, it's not good luck. There are inductions that car companies and car salespeople have to perform.
So does it see pedestrians? Here's me driving in auto mode on the M1 in Queensland, right? I've got my hands on the wheel. Well, the other one I'm using my phone to video it with. This is what the radar and the dash looks like when you're driving one of these things. So you can see all the other vehicles are blocks of radar imposed, square vehicles or oblong vehicles or whatever they are. No pedestrians will show up. Flesh and bone won't show up. The radar won't pick up a person trying to get on a tram. So that's really interesting. So then we go back to our old school investigations. When we go looking through it, we're going to have to add new slides now because we're going to have to say what Casey just said. That's got to be added into this 21-year-old motor vehicle accident investigation PowerPoint presentation. There are things that are grossly similar. You know, it'll be time of day, traffic light, street lighting, that sort of thing. I don't know how well that radar operates in the rain. Tesla would have to give, I'm sure it'd work well, but they would for other vehicles, but not flesh and blood and bone people. So all the usual stuff is going to go into the PowerPoint presentation and learning about these type of accidents. There's no skid marks because she said it was on auto drive. The vehicle didn't stop or even attempt to stop, so there's no skid marks. We can't check those. The police would go through that but there's none. So we're going to be relying on people on the tram who are witnesses at the time. Maybe Yarra trams, for all we know, have cameras on the side there to check this sort of thing, looking both ways to identify vehicles that don't give way, as they're supposed to in Melbourne, to people alighting or egressing from trams. So there might be cameras like that. There might have been people on the tram who were looking out the window and saw it. So we've got to go and speak. They don't have to know about Tesla and anything like that. All we have to know is what their version of events was. Did they see a lady sitting there reading the newspaper in the driver's position without her hands on the wheel? Or was there a lady sitting in that Tesla who went past them with both hands on the wheel? My understanding is in auto mode, you have to have both hands on the wheel at all times. That's my understanding. I don't know if that's 100% correct. So all these things, the same old things are going to come into play, but there are going to be issues around the capability, the induction, that sort of thing. So So
Yeah.
it's still going to be the same kind of CTP liability investigation, but that computer record, it's in the car's computer. The car keys would have some kind of record in it as well. On the dashboard of that Tesla, it tells you what the tyre pressure is in every individual tyre. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've gone and topped up those tyres, and it was right. There was no room for error, right? It was right on every one of them, so I had to get them up to 40 to the pressure of 42. So that's an interesting one that's happening this week. You, in the next few years, and if you don't, and if we all don't, and if the world doesn't, we're going to have global climate change rapidly going. So they are switching to electric vehicles. They are doing that. When I go and fill up on the highway with electricity in my Spy Girl Tesla, right, I go to, the Gun Nut Factory just outside of Byron Bay, or Macadamia Nut Castle outside of Byron Bay. I plug it in. It takes 40 minutes to go from empty to full. It costs nothing. I go into the Macadamia Nut Castle, have a macadamia nut cake, macadamia nut ice cream, a macadamia nut milk coffee. It costs me $135, right? And then I buy a couple of souvenirs because they have really good stuff. So I spend $230, and they know that I'm going to do that because they've got me, and that's what's going to happen. I could go on a tour of the zoo there for an extra $50. I'm spending more in that than I would have at any service station. They're very clever people, so keep charging it at home. It charges overnight at home, all right? But we charge it during the day because it doesn't cost anything. So that's an interesting thing there. Other things I've got to cover this week is Suncorp Metway. Now, I've shown you this before, but this is really important. Suncorp Metway, by themselves, and Suncorp alone, and one person in there,
I'm guessing I know who this is.
I'm guessing I know who it is too. We will ignore that person and send our support to all the Greeks who are watching today.
Yeah, sorry, we're not naming anyone. For some reason, it's not saying who it is saying hello. As Facebook user. So we don't know who you are, but we know who that is.
G'day, everybody out there who's anonymous. So anyway, Suncorp Metway by themselves have chosen to say that there is a thing called an ANZ IIF diploma. It doesn't exist. In their advertising for it, they've been advertising for 2 weeks on LinkedIn. They've got 3 applications. So why have they only got 3 applications? No applicant is going to be funneled by Suncorp Metway into the ANZ IIF illegally and given a qualification that doesn't exist. It's not going to happen. People aren't that stupid. So don't keep doing it, Suncorp Metway. The Australian Media Communications Authority doesn't allow it, and it's illegal. It's a reportable conflict of interest when an employee of an organisation takes it upon themselves to say there is such a thing as the ANZ IIF Diploma of Loss Adjusting, which doesn't exist. Applicants are not going to be misled by one single person's love and funneling of potential employees into a qualification without competition from one place. It's not going to happen. Suncorp Metway, do something about it. Employee of Suncorp Metway, go and put in your reportable conduct and let them know what you've been doing. We're about regulatory compliance in this program. Stick with it. On the positive side, people, you have been watching Spy Curious, episode 137, with Casey Pine and Michael Evans. We've got comments coming in here. What's happening, Casey?
Yeah. Evan's revealing himself. We knew it was you, Evan.
Okay, we'll keep a watch at all the airport exits. We know who he is. This week we've been focusing on CTP liability, and while I'm talking about that, auto in general, lost it. Went too hard there. Here we go. Auto in general in Brisbane are looking for senior fraud investigator. Now, Auto and General, they get their people to do the Certificate 3 in investigative services. They take their internal training very seriously. And it's not just someone down the bottom who's just entered into the company. And it's not like Suncorp Metway that makes stuff up that doesn't exist. Auto and General follow through and do the right thing. Well done, Auto and General. You're a champion organisation. Very proud to have you on board. Hey, g'day, Kelly. We're all getting exposed now. Great to see you, Kelly. People, we will be having, I think is it next week, Casey, we're on for our April meeting, and we'll explain about that.
Yes, I believe it is. Yep.
Okay.
Guys, it's just coming around so quick. They
come around very quick, so we should get Pat Flynn in to talk about workplace health and safety, shouldn't we, really?
Well, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, no. Just by way with Trace Labs case, we ran out of time to sort of get organised. It all went too fast. All the tickets sold. We have some plans in the future to organisation.
There's actually more tickets released if there are any students still. We have a student that's looking for a team. I don't know if she's watching. So we do have students participating because they got enough judges. They've released 50 more tickets. So that's this Sunday. And I am going to be a judge, which is going to be good fun. I'll be able to talk about that on the show next week.
Okay. So you're like the apprentice program where you say you're fired.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
No. We had our judges training the other day and they said, make sure you're very nice. And I was like, okay.
Okay, all right. The other big news, Casey, you've achieved a qualification this week. What qualification did you score?
I have. I got my upgraded certificate 4 in training and assessment. So that's great.
So you are going to be one of Victoria's newest trainers and assessors in CPP 30619 very soon, once we get all that happening.
Yep, absolutely. We'll look forward to it.
Okay, people, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, and we'll go out in our usual way, because every Friday, this is the way it ends. All investigation organisations all around the world, just like you see on Cold Eyes, the Korean movie. I recommend you watch. It's great fun. Google it.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's it. Our mission's complete. Pat, mate, we hope you're feeling better soon. Oh, buddy. The nicest person in investigation training in Australia, Pat Flynn. Good on you, mate. We'll try and bring him on for an update next week. See you then, people. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody.